Have you ever wondered what made David to be very effective or powerful? How was it that the men of Israel were afraid of Goliath, but David was able to overcome him? So today I'm bringing to you 5 lessons from David that we can use in our own lives. Greetings and welcome, you guys. So we will get straight to the point. Point number 1 is having a heart after God. We will open Acts 13, verse 22. It says, "And when he had removed him, he raised up for them David as king, to whom also he gave testimony and said, I have found David, the son of Jesse, a man after my own heart, who will do all my will." Now we find that David was a man who was after God's heart, and this is showing that as God wanted a king, he would want a man like David. But it didn't start there. The Israelites, the children of God, wanted their own king like other people in the world. This is showing that they started to envy what other people had, and then they had to have Saul for the position. He started right with God, but then he lost his way to the point that God removed his spirit from him, and then he started being tormented. So God had to find a man right for the position to rule his people. Then he anointed David for this position. We find something that David was a man after God's heart. And as we see that God bringing the testimony, showing that David would be able to do his will. This is showing that the call was for him to do the will of God, leading the people of God according to his will. So when a person is called for a position in whether even at work, they're supposed to influence the place. You have to bring that influence in that place. So as David was a man after God's heart, God would be finding it easy to work with him because he has an heart open for God to use. Well, it does happen that we know God is amazing and is loving us and stuff, but God here found a man after his heart. So if we want to be more on fire for God, to be ready to be used by God, we have to have a heart like that. A heart that is willing to do the will of God. You see, God showing that David will do his will, showing that having a heart after God is the heart that is willing to do the will of God. So Saul, God told him to do a task, and he did the task in a way that seemed okay to him. God told him to kill everything there, and he didn't do that. You see, that's what happens. Sometimes you think you have some ideas, perceptions about things in life. God wants you to do work, whether to prophesy. You say, I don't want to prophesy this week. I want to do it next week. But the question is, who are you serving? Why are you doing the things that you are doing? If you want to be more on fire for God, you have to know that we are a vessel that God wants to use. It's not the other way around. God has anointed us for his work. The more we allow him to work in us and we submit our wills to him, and then we are able to see more power. You know, when you obey God, there's a divine grace there that you will see, that when God says 1, you say 10. God says 3, you say 100. When you do that, you are limiting yourself. You're putting yourself to be blocked. There's this thing, there's a message that I heard from Kathryn Kuhlman that is very powerful. She talks a lot about dying to self. That's more about that. A heart for God is to die to self because we have so many needs. Sometimes, you may be having so much ideas and God wants you to put that away for now. Just focus on me. I'm building your character. That's why it's important. When you have a heart for God, God is able to speak to you and prepare you so that you will understand what does he mean when we give ourselves to God and fully just giving ourselves to him. Just like David, as young as he was, he had a relationship with God. David was not even planning or hoping to be a king. He was just after God. This reminds me when I was just starting up on my Christian journey. I never thought that I would be seeing visions and dreams and praying for people. None of those things. I thought I was just having some Bible studies and praying some moments with God. And, as I was having some quality time with God in prayer, I started seeing visions. I started seeing people and I started seeing their problems. And when I was in church, I started seeing things. God was showing me whom do I have to pray for, what I have to do, what is it that I have to do, and stuff. And so I didn't know that me spending time with God will lead it to God to say to me to do the things He wants. I thought it was just some quality time with God. And in that moment, God was able to use me because my heart was focusing on Him. I didn't know that when you just focusing on experiencing God, you can literally hear more and experience more of God. Some people do work a lot for God, but their hearts are not in Him. If you want to experience more of God and release more of His grace, you really need to have a heart for Him and pray for you. Don't just say, I have a heart for God. Pray, God, help my heart. Help me to seek you. Help me to desire you. Help me to focus on you. Help me to have a heart that loves you more than the things that you have. I want to be a vessel, Father. I want to be a person who's living for you, not just a person who's keep on receiving for me, but I want to make a change in this kingdom. I believe I'll be making this as a series so that we will go a little bit deep in this concept so that we will be bringing a lot of fire in this Christian kingdom, and there will be a lot of growth, a lot of deliverance. We're moving from a point where you get a lot of maybe you used to be a person full of anxiety, but you will learn how to get out of that place as you're learning, because there's something that happens when your heart is full of God. There are things that God will do to you. There are things that will begin to leave without you saying these things should leave you. There is a divine grace to be deeply in God, and your heart is in Him. It's more than what you say with your mind, with your mouth. It's more about where is your heart. Yes, you say you love God, but is your heart saying the same thing? If your heart is saying the same thing, there will be a lot of change and grace. So we will stop for now, guys. And if you have any questions for this part for now, we will have more 4 left that we'll be discussing. So may the Lord bless you, keep you, shine His face upon you. I love you. Mwah.